Imagine a giant bucket you fill with water every day. You wake up early, work hard, and pour in as much as you can, hoping to save enough for the future. But it has a massive hole at the bottom, and no matter how much you add, the water keeps escaping. No matter how hard you work, most of the water leaks out. You watch helplessly as your efforts seem to vanish, drop by drop, leaving you with only a fraction of what you started with. For years, this was Ethiopia's story, but instead of water, it was gold. The country is blessed with rich mineral resources, especially gold, hidden beneath its soil. Billions of dollars worth of gold vanished into the black market, leaving Ethiopia with almost nothing. The wealth that could have transformed communities simply slipped away, unseen and unaccounted for. The government knew gold was being mined in regions like Benishangul Gumuz and Oromia, but official exports were just a fraction of the real output. The numbers on paper never matched the reality underground. Smugglers offered miners better prices and instant cash, making it hard for the government to compete. For many miners, survival meant selling to whoever paid the most, regardless of the law. Gold was smuggled out through neighboring countries, enriching criminals while Ethiopia lost out. The borders became invisible highways for stolen wealth, and the nation's riches fueled prosperity elsewhere. This constant drain meant less money for infrastructure, healthcare, and education. Roads remained unfinished, clinics lacked supplies, and schools struggled to provide even basic materials. The country was stuck, unable to invest in its own future. Dreams of progress faded as resources slipped away, leaving communities in a cycle of poverty and missed opportunities. Ethiopia's natural wealth was slipping away, while others got rich. The miners who toiled day and night saw little reward, while fortunes were made far from home. The bucket kept leaking, and the nation grew thirstier. Each year the gap between potential and reality widened, and hope began to dry up. The government faced a choice: keep losing, or find a way to plug the hole. The challenge was enormous, but the cost of inaction was even greater. The stakes were high. Without action, Ethiopia would remain trapped in poverty. Every lost ounce of gold was a lost opportunity for a better life for millions. The gold rush was real, but the benefits were not. The promise of wealth was everywhere, but the reality was hardship and struggle. The country needed a new strategy, fast. Leaders began to realize that plugging the leak was not just about gold, it was about the nation's future. The time had come to reclaim its lost fortune. The question was, how could Ethiopia finally turn its hidden wealth into real prosperity for its people? Ethiopia has always been known for coffee, its economic backbone for generations. But coffee is vulnerable, prices swing, harvests fail, and it's slow money. Facing a currency crisis, Ethiopia needed a faster engine for growth. The answer was right underfoot: minerals, especially gold. Gold promised a massive, immediate cash injection. This wasn't about abandoning coffee, but adding a rocket booster to the economy. By tapping mineral wealth, Ethiopia aimed to move from price taker to price setter. The shift was about more than money. It was about sovereignty and leverage. Suddenly, global investors started paying attention. Ethiopia gained options and bargaining power. The nation was betting that gold could build a more prosperous future than coffee alone. It was a bold pivot, and the world was watching. Would it pay off? Gold mining in Ethiopia wasn't high-tech. It was mostly done by hand, using simple tools and sheer determination. In remote villages and rugged hillsides, men and women dug deep into the earth, hoping to uncover a glimmer of gold that could change their lives. Hundreds of thousands of small-scale miners toiled in harsh conditions, exposed to the blazing sun and dust, driven by hope and necessity. For many, mining was not just a job, it was a last resort, a gamble for survival in a country where opportunities were scarce. After weeks of backbreaking labor, miners faced a tough decision: sell their gold to the government for a modest official price, or take a risk and sell to smugglers who offered more cash, no questions asked, and payment on the spot. Most chose the latter, fueling a thriving black market that operated in the shadows. Smuggling became a lifeline for desperate miners, but it came at a cost to the nation. The gold slipped quietly out of Ethiopia, hidden in bags and secret compartments, bound for foreign buyers. The country captured almost none of its true value, watching its wealth vanish across borders. Miners got a small cut, barely enough to get by, while smugglers and middlemen grew rich. The nation, meanwhile, lost out on vital revenue that could have built schools, roads, and hospitals. Ethiopia was stuck at the bottom of the value chain, exporting raw gold instead of refined products. The real profits went overseas, leaving only scraps behind. It's like selling raw cotton instead of designer shirts. The real money is in processing, branding, and adding value. Ethiopia's gold, like its cotton, was leaving the country before it could be transformed. The artisanal army worked tirelessly, day after day, but the system kept them and their families trapped in poverty. Generations of miners saw little change, despite their hard work. The structure of informal trade ensured Ethiopia lost its treasure by the handful, as gold literally slipped through the fingers of those who needed it most. The cycle needed to be broken. But how could Ethiopia turn its hard-won gold into lasting prosperity for its people? For years, Ethiopia's gold quietly slipped through the cracks, vanishing across borders and into the shadows of the global market. Despite the country's rich mineral deposits, most of its gold wealth never made it into official records or benefited the nation. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. A new dawn broke for Ethiopia's gold industry, and the effects rippled across the country. In just 9 months, official gold and mineral exports soared to nearly $4 billion. An astonishing 87% surge. This wasn't just a statistical blip, it was a transformation that stunned both local experts and international observers. The gold had always been there, hidden in the earth and in plain sight. What changed was the approach. A bold new strategy that finally unlocked Ethiopia's potential. The government took decisive action, plugging the holes in the system that had allowed so much wealth to slip away. They cracked down on illegal mining and smuggling, and for the first time, enforced real oversight. But they also realized something crucial. You can't just order people to stop smuggling, you have to give them a reason to stay. By offering miners better prices, legal permits, and a safer way to earn a living, the government brought much of the trade above ground. This sudden influx of cash was more than just numbers on a balance sheet. It became a lifeline, funding desperately needed fuel, medicine, and infrastructure projects that touched every corner of the country. The chronic currency shortage that had strangled the economy began to ease, giving businesses and families room to breathe and plan for the future. It was more than a budget fix. It was a psychological boost, a surge of hope and pride that swept through communities and boardrooms alike. Ethiopia proved to itself, and to the world, that it could control its resources and finally, benefit from them, on its own terms. The world took notice. Investors, governments and business leaders saw that Ethiopia was open for business, ready to engage with the global economy while protecting its own interests. The $4 billion surge marked not just a financial milestone, but the beginning of a new era. But what exactly changed to make this possible? The government's breakthrough wasn't force, it was smart incentives. They made the official gold buying price competitive, sometimes even better than smugglers. Miners could now get more money, safely and legally. The government expanded buying centers, making them accessible and efficient. Miners got paid on the spot, with less bureaucracy. The legal path became the easy, profitable path. At the same time, border controls tightened and smuggling networks were targeted. The carrot and stick approach worked. Miners flocked to official channels. Smugglers lost ground. Ethiopia finally captured the wealth it had been losing for decades. The strategy was simple. Outcompete the black market. The results spoke for themselves. But success brought new challenges. Ethiopia's gold boom brought wealth, but also tragedy. The Lega Dembi mine in Oromia became infamous for health disasters, miscarriages, birth defects, and toxic water. Heavy metals like mercury and arsenic poisoned rivers, devastating communities. International outcry followed, with the UN demanding urgent action. The mine was briefly closed, but problems persisted after reopening. The pursuit of profit blinded authorities to human suffering. The Lega Dembi crisis is a warning. A gold rush that poisons children is a moral failure. As Ethiopia expands mining, it must protect people and the environment. Wealth means nothing if it's built on suffering. The country faces a stark choice: prosperity or peril. Ethiopia is moving beyond artisanal mining to industrial-scale operations. The Segel mine, run by Akobo Minerals, marks a new era, modern, regulated, and in partnership with the state. Ethiopia's sovereign wealth fund invested directly, ensuring national benefit. Industrial mines promise stable, high-volume output and local jobs. They bring technology and infrastructure to remote regions. But the shadow of Legadembe looms. Environmental and social risks remain. Ethiopia must enforce strict standards and attract responsible investors. The goal is sustainable growth, not quick profits at any cost. The future lies in balancing artisanal and industrial mining. The stakes are high and the world is watching. Can Ethiopia get it right? Ethiopia stands at a crossroads. The gold boom solved an immediate crisis, but the real test is just beginning. One path leads to sustainable prosperity, processing gold at home, diversifying the economy, and sharing wealth fairly. The other path is the resource curse, dependency, corruption, and conflict. Strong governance and environmental protection are essential. Ethiopia's choices will shape its future and set an example for others. Will it build a resilient, just economy, or become another cautionary tale? The world is watching this real-time test. Ethiopia has found its gold. Now comes the harder task, building a golden age. The next chapter is up to Ethiopia.